And welcome back to the Morning Blend. It seems like every day there's news about prominent people admitting to sexual misconduct.
Yeah, but how is all of this having an effect here in our community? Angela Mancuso is the executive director of the Women's Center, which provides crisis intervention and programming for survivors of sexual assault. Great to see you this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Super timely, too.
It is, and I think that probably that's the biggest issue right now to take a look at is how is this very public sort of constant stream of attention on sexual misconduct impacting us locally?
Well, you know, it certainly is prompting lots of conversations, right? And every day, you know, there's a new situation. So lots of people are shocked, surprised, disappointed that someone they respected and looked up to is the perpetrator du jour. But, you know, the reality is that, and the fact remains that that's what countless number of women have been dealing with for years.
A lot of people are asking, why are so many women now coming out and saying something? Why is it that they weren't comfortable saying something before?
Well, there's lots of reasons why people don't come forward. I mean, basically, victims carry the most of consequences when somebody does come forward because of the culture that we have created. So fear of retaliation, job loss, you know, not being believed or supported is a big component. So, you know, it is surprising in some respects that now there's this onslaught, the floodgates have been opened, but what has prompted it, we're not sure, except for the fact that it's about time.
Yeah. And there's strength in numbers. And I think that finally, Molly and I were discussing this earlier, how in a particular case of maybe the first perpetrator that was very public, that one of the women involved did come out at an earlier date and no one believed her and everybody called her crazy. And now there's so many other people with the same story that I think finally, and it's sad for her that it had to be that way, but finally she's getting a little justice.
Well, exactly. I mean, even a few years ago, I've been doing this for 20 years, even a few years ago, there may not have been repercussions for these high-profile individuals, or we wouldn't have heard about it. I mean, it certainly is being sensationalized, right, because it is high-profile individuals. But for all of the women who have been, you know, had this experience and have been carrying it with them, you know, in silence, hopefully this is the beginning of a major culture shift. It does remain to be seen.
In some cases, the women, the victims, have said they wished at the time they had done more to prevent the assault or the attack, maybe speaking out more vocally, maybe doing something more physical to stop it from happening. How do you explain to people who ask that question why sometimes those things happen and why people aren't more aggressive in the moment at preventing it from happening?
Well, a lot of it has to do with fear, fight or flight. You know, you're assessing your safety, what the repercussions are going to be, what the consequences, what it'll mean for you, and the effect that it would have on your life. But really, these conversations need to take place, and people need to feel safe and supported and have confidence that, you know, they'll have a reasonable shot at justice. And that they won't be re-victimized. And we have a culture right now of, you know, significant victim shaming and blaming, and you see that every single day. You know, for us regular folks, you know, and we have to really know what our resources and options are, and again, know that we're going to be believed and supported. So much emphasis has been on not believing, and you know, women and girls are taught and trained to as to how they should avoid being sexually assaulted or harassed, as opposed
don't wear
to
this, don't say this.
What's the other part of the equation here? You know,
absolutely.
Well, and to Molly's point too, that same feeling that most of these women are putting out there that I wish I would have done more. It's almost like they're trying to rationalize it still and
blaming themselves.
And that's,
exactly,
that's
and
right. They're carrying this guilt for themselves.
Right. That well, I didn't do enough. Well, and again, that's part of the healing process, right? To get past that and say I was a victim and that's it, you know.
Right. And again, the emphasis is we need to reverse this emphasis. It's not about what the victim did or did not do, what they wore, where they were, how much they drank. It's why did that individual choose to abuse, you know, why did they make the choice? It's a conscious decision to assault and harm somebody. And
the one common denominator in most of these situations recently that are in the news, and you know, Time Magazine just had the Person of the Year, and it's the people who break the silence. It was a group photo on the cover of Time Magazine. But so often the person who is the perpetrator is a person who has got some form of power. And you wonder, you know, they obviously have a sense that they can get away with it because they're in a position of influence to do this to usually women, but to their victims.
Exactly. I mean, you think about it, somebody that you respect or that you trust or that you report to, and again, this shroud of silence and just tolerate it, and often victims have to prove that they didn't want that attention or that it wasn't their fault or that they didn't go seeking it. So again, it's how we have been treating women and girls who have had violence perpetrated against them for eons.
Too long.
Well, and again, at the local level here, the Women's Center is here to help. So if you do feel like you or someone you know has been in a situation, maybe even not even similar to what we've been hearing about lately, but you know that help is needed, you can call the hotline 262-542-3828. You can also log on to twcwaukesha.org for more information.
Great conversation. Thank you for joining us.